excited to be here with Dr. Erika Way, who owns Beyond Wellness and Beyond Chiropractic. And her and I have been having some conversations today that were really interesting. And Lynn and I were talking about it and thought, gosh, we really need her on our podcast. So,
well, I'm so excited that you guys are doing a podcast because there just isn't enough people talking real time about what's going on and how we might be able to interpret it, because I think what ends up happening is we feel like we're a few peas short of a casserole. And so,
yes.
So what we started talking about today was feeling a little disconnected and a little discombobulated, and from the people that we love so much, so maybe we have felt that with Aries North Node. We've been moving more into sovereignty, but it's felt a little different in the last, let's say, maybe week or two.
Totally.
And it feels as though it's almost like, one way I might describe it, and everyone of course would have a little bit different way of describing it, but I feel like there's like saran wrap, or there's something that's separating me, and I feel like there's a want to engage, although it just doesn't feel like it's the right thing to do. So Maureen and I started talking about that today, and then we started to talk to Lynn about it, and we decided to have this little podcast.
Yeah, because I'm sure you're all feeling some of these same things. So, yeah, so I just started noticing it. Lynn and I actually talked about it on the phone the other day too, and I felt the same thing that you're just describing. And then all of a sudden, when I went in and started having private sessions with people, recognizing that other people were feeling the same way, and the more I started talking about how it feels like we're moving from, let's say, one timeline or vibratory state to another, which we've been predicting for a long time, right? It's almost like the split of the dimensions, meaning that some people might stay in the dimension we've been in, 3 to 4 for a while, or until their soul wants to move, because there's different people choose different experiences, and then some people are choosing to experience a higher vibration so that they can experience less polarized state of living. And when you're moving into that less polarized energy, and some people are still in the other, you feel almost like you're out of source. You're not even used to that new vibration yet, much less used to working with people that are also wondering what this new energy is, or perhaps they can't relate to you anymore, or whatever it is. So that's been my experience of it so far.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, have you been feeling like when you're moving from 3 to 4, out of 3 to 4D, and then do you feel like you're in the middle right now, the transitional stage, where you're not quite in that other timeline yet?
Well, I'd say sometimes I think I'm in it, and sometimes I think, oh, there's still some transformation happening. So, I think we go back and forth in it, because this is not a linear process. So what are you both noticing with that?
Well, I think you're right. I think the way you described it earlier, Maureen, is you were saying that it's like we're in the new timeline, many of us, that are feeling this discombobulation. It's just that we're getting used to the energy. And, as we've been talking earlier today, and what comes to me now is we can't forget that it was just this last week that Pluto, for the very last time, left Capricorn and is now fully moving into Aquarius. And Pluto is the planet of transformation, and this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. My word, they've been singing about it for years.
Yeah, right, they were there.
So, they had to know something was coming up.
So I'm blaming it on Pluto. That's why I don't know who I am right now.
Well, yes. Well, first of all, 100%. And what can happen, which is interesting, is depending on what house that is in, it's like that house takes on a new wardrobe. It's like you're seeing that differently. So we may all be feeling discombobulated, but in different areas of our life.
Yeah, makes sense.
And just as something to say that I think this is going to be more of an expansive process, and a process that's going to be happening over time, because I think it's this year 4 or 5 other planets change signs. Saturn's going into Aries, Neptune's going into Aries, and Jupiter's going into Cancer. So so we're all going to be wearing different clothes, if you will, at the end of 2025. So maybe if we can understand it and not be afraid of it, or think there's some symptoms going on, or wanting to end our relationships because of X, Y, and Z, that we maybe just sit with it and trust it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. We need to trust it, because we can't make a decision until we know more what it's about.
So trusting it so that we don't just make these impulsive decisions based off of fear or something like that.
Well, or think that there's something wrong with us. I mean,
Well, for
how
sure.
often, because it's such a personal experience, I mean, Pluto is a grand transformation, but it's also a very deeply personal transformation, and it's almost like part of how we move into why we came here. So maybe it is time to really just sit and be with it, because I think there's messages that we might be missing if we are not in tune to what's actually going on.
I totally agree. Yeah, and I think I remember feeling like this timeline split, you could call it, or dimensional split. We've been talking about it probably since 2007 or 8 or somewhere around there. And what would it look like? What would it feel like? We were just trying to guess, what that would be like. I remember we thought, well, maybe we're hitting into this other frequency or vibrational state, like moving from third to fourth to fifth, which I think of as the birth canal of transformation, into sixth, which is the beginning of this less polarized state that Earth is heading towards. And we were thinking, well, maybe the other kind of vibration that we were in would be like a dream. If people decide to stay there, they'd be there, but not be there. But now I don't know. I just think it's more of just how we're feeling about things, and just how we're relating is going to be different, and how we interpret and what we attract into our life is going to be different, if that makes any sense.
I think it's a great opportunity to be able to do that.
It is.
Yes,
but I
love
think,
that.
but if we're in that vibration, that's what's, that's what we're going to do. We're going to be attracting different things.
Yep.
Right.
A higher vibration attracts higher vibrational experiences, and you have to work on your inner self to get there. We all agree on that one, for
100%.
sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I was thinking as I was hearing you. There are people who might not have done as much work, but that would be the goal, in other words. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think it's easier to work on yourself now than it was way back.
Yeah, I think people are more open to it. We have more resources, and the internet helps a lot.
It helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're waking up. So I think the planet's vibration is raising so much that I'm scrolling through social media, and there's 2 or 3 posts about generational trauma.
Yeah.
And I mean, that literally has been in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And now, of course, I think you know about that. You've taught me about that. But it's becoming like second nature for people to say, oh, that generational trauma. Yeah. Whereas even 2 years ago, they thought
it wasn't talked about.
No, they thought you were cuckoo.
Yeah.
And we started doing work on generational trauma probably in 2010 or 2009 or something like that. So, I think what happens is a window opens up where new information comes in, and there's the pioneers that are willing to kind of listen, and that's what you're even talking about. We want to listen to what's going on with this new energy now. But we listened back then, and we got stuff on ancestral clearing or generational clearing. And then, whoever's open to it was learning that. So a group of us were learning it. And now, because of that, other people started catching on, because it's almost like you create a critical mass shift. If there's, let's say, 5 people that pick up the energy of, okay, we're ready to start healing ourselves from our ancestry, like almost like a portal or a window opens. So I picked up on it. Other people picked up on it. Kind of the pioneers that were willing to, listen to the energy. And then now more people are listening to it, because it's a critical mass shift has taken place. So I think that's what's been happening, since I've been into this since 1970s, really.
Yeah, I met you in 2013, and you immediately told me about generational trauma, and we worked on it right away. And I think that is what really helped transform my life and even my family.
Oh, yeah, that's great, isn't it?
So.
Yeah, I've been working with you since 2012, and it's just a game changer to so much to that I've taken your courses a number of times so that I'm able to teach it and help other people, because it's transformational.
It is.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I know we've all got other tools in our toolbox too, like you two do other things as well. Like you've got your healing crystals that I love, and you do all your other things, QNRT and so forth. There's many tools in the toolbox right now, but back to that timeline that we're on. I mean, any other thoughts on this new timeline?
Yeah, well, when did you say Pluto
went into Aquarius? I want to say it was Thursday, just this past Thursday.
So, super interesting. I was here working with my crystals, and I actually feel like I had some kind of a death and internally.
Oh yeah.
And it happened so fast, and it wasn't like something painful or anything. I just felt something just die inside of me that didn't need to be there anymore. And immediately seeing this and feeling this golden light fill me up while I was just working with crystals in my crystal room. And, you know, I paused to try to process that, and I thought, okay, something transformative is happening right now. And I want to say it was on Thursday.
Okay. You might want to check me. It was Wednesday or Thursday, but either way, it can take a minute for it to kind of get to us, right?
Yeah.
So that, and with Pluto being the phoenix or the death and rebirth, that's really powerful that you recognize that.
Yeah, it was really strange as all of this is, but also just like, okay, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I felt disconnected. That was the way I felt. It almost like, who am I right now? Which, you know, I didn't feel grounded in myself. And I usually feel like I do, but I really didn't. I felt, you know, some insecurities coming up, and I'm like, oh, you know, you observe it and you go, wow, I really don't like that. But that's where I'm at right this minute. And, you know, some things that you haven't even felt for years are coming up, because there might be like the residue is just like moving up and out, or the core thing that you didn't know was there is moving up and out.
Yeah.
So it's been intense, I think.
Yeah, it has been.
But it's good. We're moving somewhere else, you know. So we're moving. I always think of a different timeline, only because, you know, we're switching timelines or vibrational states.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what we've been working towards. I think that's what the ascension is all about. It's not about the end of the world. It's the end of who we are as a world into a new type of world. That's what I've always gotten. 2025 as the big year for the change.
I believe that.
I mean, it doesn't mean we're done, but that's where it's really going to start more wholeheartedly.
Well, I think, you know, you've talked about for years the critical mass shift. And I feel like we reached that about 2 years ago.
True. Yep.
And now I just think, as impatient as I can be, because I'm just like,
I hear you.
Right? That I feel like now it's just the momentum is getting going. And I think if we're here now, we clearly signed up to be here at this time, because we are literally going through a revolution. And it's a spiritual revolution, and it's a collective revolution.
Totally.
And if we can allow and we can trust our higher self, source, to guide us, and I think we'll be so much better off. And we know when there's resistance. I see it in my clinic when people come in with depression or anxiety that maybe is new or has heightened. If they have physical pain, is a beautiful way for your body, higher selves, to say, hey, you're holding on to something you don't need to hold on to. And so I think we'll see that in different manifestations, so that everyone's welcome to the ascension process. And that's how, if we maybe need guidance, how we're led to find people who can help us, the person who's meant to.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know if we want to make it more complicated, but I'm going to. But even if there's somebody that you're thinking, oh, such and such isn't working on themselves, they're not a part of the ascension, I do believe, and even quantum physics, you know, quantum entanglement is talking about it, there's much more to us than here. I think we have many existences going on simultaneous to our current one. So there could be a reality where I'm not working on myself, and somebody who's not working on themselves here is working on themselves. So I really believe that somewhere we're all working on ourselves.
Yes.
So
Good point.
So really, there's not anybody not doing the work. Sometimes we choose to be more stuck, maybe for the benefit of somebody else.
Yeah, I believe that fully. Like, and just releasing the idea or thought, like, oh well, we know better. They should be working on themselves. People are where they need to be.
Totally.
And
100%.
if they were not where they need to be, well, where would we be? Right? That's them serving that lesson for us, that experience for us in this lifetime.
Well, and I was just talking to my daughter, who has had a new shift in her life, and it, you know, as she was working up to that shift, it just felt bad, and it felt negative, and it felt lonely, and then when the shift finally happens, whenever that is and whatever that is for you,
Mm-hmm.
then you look back and you're like, oh, that's why I had to go through that. This
Totally.
never would have happened.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know what they say, hindsight's 20/20, and so trust that if you're going through something super hard right now, that there's a reason why you're doing that,
Totally.
and that answer will become clear when it's meant to.
And don't judge yourself while you're going through it,
100%.
because of that. There is a reason why you're going through the hard things. I think we picked karmic issues, meaning things to work through in this life based on inherited ancestral issues or other lifetime or collective issues. We're all working through something, and the people in our lives are helping us with this, whether they're somebody that's super hard or somebody super supportive or anything in between. We're all helping each other work through these difficulties that we haven't cleared up for, who knows, maybe eons. It wasn't possible to really work on yourself, or maybe it was at pockets of time, but right now I do, even a lot of the Mayan calendar, they predicted the end of it in 2012, and then they started talking about portals. I remember you were talking about that. That's where I thought, oh, it's the end of the calendar. You said, yeah, but no, there's portals of openings. I don't know if you remember saying that.
I don't remember saying that.
But you did, or you said it, and I said, "Oh, that makes sense,"
Okay.
because it wasn't the end in 2012. It was the end of this
cycle.
This cycle.
Consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're
Very long time. You talked about that pyramid, right?
Mhm.
The first 26,000 years, and then instead of the pyramid, as we moved out of that time, it's not like we went to the top of. There's not another flat pyramid on top of it. That would be the end of the cosmos. But it was the two tips of the pyramids together, so that we could then
right.
expand open.
Right.
Oh, that's a
up.
good example.
Yeah.
Well, you gave it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I forget what I said. It makes sense though. Like I like that example.
I do remember her giving that, but you explained it so well.
Yes, you
And
did.
I love the, drawing it out with the.
I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I love pyramids. By the way, they're about truth.
100%.
Yeah. So if you push them together, it's the 6-pointed star or Star of David, however you want to define it, which is about bringing heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing, is we're in the process of that. So, and it'll be interesting to see what we end up with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're all co-creating it together. I do think it's a co-creation process. That's why it's hard to know what it's going to be, because we're still figuring it out. We're still co-creating.
And do you feel like with this timeline, I don't know, time is, a concept here on Earth, but things are moving a lot faster?
Oh, for
or
sure.
like the transformations and just everything is just happening so fast.
Well, it's if we can each day or week incrementally just slowly increase our vibration, if we choose to take a supplement or move out of a dysfunctional relationship, eliminate a food or do some exercise, any way that we can meditate, of course, can create just that incremental shift in our own frequency and vibration, we exponentially impact the planet and the collective. And so we have to keep that in mind, that we might be doing our little bit in our crystal room, in our working in our clinics and with our patients and our clients, but every day when we are all working to do that to help others, we're going to turn around, and it's kind of like washing the floor. You turn around, you're like, oh, I'm done finally. It's going to be beautiful. I have no doubt.
Oh,
Thank
good way
you
to
for
put
that
it.
reminder, Erika. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's very, very good. I love it. Yeah, so it's an exciting time, and having a supportive community, we've got a lot of people that are in our support group, our community of support, that's helped us over the years, and I think it's really important to be a part of a community of like-minded. Doesn't mean you have to think alike on everything. In fact, let's have a discussion about differences and not be upset about it. I think that's an important thing. I've learned a lot over the last years because of people thinking different than me. I've changed my whole mind on things because of it, if it makes enough sense to me.
Right.
And who knows what is truth? We're learning as we go.
Yeah, so stay open.
Yeah.
Stay open for sure.
Oh yeah, and even if you feel like you know what the truth is, stay open to more truth. And then if you get an insight, stay open to more and more and more of that. I think they're divine truth, perhaps maybe none of us know what divine truth is yet. We don't know. We're here for a journey, and we're discovering.
Forever expanding spiral.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading the three ascension attitudes are love, gratitude, and surrender. And I think of those things, gratitude might be the hardest to remember to do. Love comes easy for me, and I think for most people because we recognize it and we crave it so much. Surrender. Surrender's the little thorn in the side because, again, if you really want to make God laugh, just tell him what your plans are. So universe, right? So I think it's the surrender to and allowing that we're in our rightful place if we're working intentionally every day.